So, welcome to Matlab lecture number 4. We'll be going over scripting and conditional statements today. So, I was thinking for our lesson today, I would like to make a train station. Has anyone here ever rode a train before? I mean, you guys probably have, but I thought it would be cool if we could make a little train station in code, so that would be a good way to demonstrate scripting and conditional statements. So first off, we'll start with the scripts. So before now, you guys have been in a command window, running commands from there, and the thing is, like, you can run as many commands as you want, but if you close the program, you lose all your progress, and it's just not good if you need to actually, keep files for later and run them when you want to. So you can save files in Matlab, and they're stored in .m files, and to do that you would need to make files in the editor. So we'll just say, for example, say in a command window you have like x equals 10 and then x equals 10, and there you go. But once you clear everything, your x isn't there anymore. You type in x and it doesn't know what x is. So if you wanted to keep something like that, you would want to go in the editor and have a script right here and say x equals 10. Now when I run this, I will need to actually save it first. So I need to save this, and then I'm gonna say this is variable x dot n. And now when I run this, okay, it will tell me to change directory. So if you have this open, it will ask you to change directory. That means that it can run any file within the folder that I just saved it in, which is going to be useful later. So I just ran it, and x equals 10. And now when I say that, and say if I clear this, so it doesn't know what x is anymore, I can always run that file at any time. I can run it here, and then see x is 10. I can also run it from the command window if I type in the name of the file. So if you type in variable x right there, you can run it like that as well. Are there any questions so far to how this works? The scripting isn't really that complicated. It's basically saying I can, make a file, put some commands in it, and run it later. And I'm gonna go check if we have any questions. I think we're good. Okay, so now that we know how scripts work, now I can also demonstrate. You can open a script from here too, and it will work. So I can close this, and you can open it right there. Boom, it's right here again. So now you won't be losing all your progress whenever you do things in the command window, which is nice. Alright, so now that we have scripts over with, let's start making conditional statements. So back when you were in the command window, you kind of had to make all the decisions for yourself. Like, say if you wanted to divide something, let's say if you want to divide a bunch of numbers, in your head you're not supposed to divide anything by 0, but the program itself isn't smart enough to be on its own and say, oh, you can't divide things by 0. It will just give you an error. So we want to try to avoid errors if possible. So say if I just divide something by 0, okay, well, it's not an error, but it's a warning. So we don't want this to happen. So say we have a program where we ask the user what they want to divide by, and we'll stop the user if they try to divide by 0. So let's do that right now. So let's say x equals input enter a number to divide. Okay, we'll just say, enter is divisor or dividend? Enter number to divide by. And then we'll say if x is equal to 0. And notice that there's a double equal sign here, not a single one. So the single one means you're assigning a value to x. Now the double one means like you're checking if it's equal to something. If x is 0, then you tell the user you can't do that. Come on. There you go. You can't do that, and you actually can divide by 0, by the way, but you need to know calculus to do that. So you don't need to know calculus for this class. So enter a number to divide by. If x is 0, then you say you can't do that. Then you can add another number and say add a number to be divided by, and then we'll just say that is y. And this program will give us whatever y divided by x is. Alright, so let's save this file. We'll call this divide, I guess, for a lack of a better name. And then let's run this. So go to command window. It'll tell you enter a number to divide by. So if I say 0 right now, it'll say you can't do that. Okay, well, it kept running. But yeah, so it will tell you you can't do that if I type in 0. So say if I ran this again. Hold on. If I ran this again and I type in like 2, then it won't give me that dialog. And I can enter another number and then 6, and then say 6 divided by 2 is 3. So okay. I'm gonna put this in here. So now our code should actually not do anything if x does not equal 0. So basically what I did here is that if x equals to 0, it will just tell you you can't do that, and then it will just stop right there. Now this else means that if it's anything, like if this is false, if x is ever not equal to 0, then it will run everything here, which is what we want. So if I try to run this now, enter a number divided by, if I type in 0, it will just say x is 0 and just stop right there. So that's good. That's pretty much how this works. And then if I can run it from here. If I say divide, and if I say 3, and see, now it's fine. I can say 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that's pretty much how the if-else statements work. Pretty much most programming languages have this, so they kind of work the same way. Alright, still no questions? Okay, so I'm sure you guys are following me pretty well right now. So let's start making our train station. So when we hire people for our train station, when we hire train conductors, we need to make sure they pass an entrance exam. I think that would be a pretty good idea. So let's make a new script called entrance exam, and let's call that entrance exam. Alright, I just named it that. And then we'll just say display, this is the train conductor entrance exam. Please enter the score you... Actually, no. Okay, we're gonna say this is the grader for the entrance exam. So we'll assume they already took the exam. So let's say this is the grader for the train conductor entrance exam. Please enter the score I'm gonna put this in the new line. Please enter the score you made in the exam. Now, so for this exam, we're going to make it so if they make anything below a 70, they don't pass. And if they make anything between a 70 and an 80, they get a C. Anything between 80 and a 90, they get a B. And anything between 100, well, 90 and 100, they get an A. So to do that, we'll have to make this an input. And then we'll say score equals input for that. Alright. And then now that we have the score, we can start making our conditional statement. So we'll say if this score is greater than 90, you don't have to say less than 100. I mean, we're going to assume they're going to be putting valid numbers here. So if the score is greater than 90, I say greater than equal to 90, then we'll say you made an A. Alright, and now I'm gonna say else if. So what this means right here is that if this first statement here doesn't run, then it will see if, well, it will test if this condition is true. So say score is greater than equal to 80. So right here, so say if we made 89 on this exam, so this will be false, then it will run this. Now if I made a 91 on the exam, it will run this, and this is true, then it will run this code right here, and then it will ignore everything down here. So that's what the else is for. You could make like a whole bunch of if statements, but that's really not efficient, because if you satisfy a condition up here, you don't want it to run anything down there. So that will make the program faster. So we'll just do it like this. You made a B. So if you made anything greater than or equal to 80. Alright, and then we can make another one. Else if. Right, and then we can make another one. Else if score is greater than or equal to 70. And you can say display you made a C. Alright. And you can put as many else ifs as you want. And we'll get into that. But yeah, you can pretty much have as many else ifs as you want. You actually don't even need any else ifs. You could just have an if statement like in the first program where you had divide. And when we just had this ran perfectly fine. So we can have all these else ifs. And else. And okay, so this else means that if none of these are true, like if I made like a 60 on this, and this isn't true, this isn't true, this isn't true, then it will run in here. So this will basically always run if anything above here doesn't. Say you failed the exam, unfortunately. And then we have to say end. Alright, so let's test this out. Please enter the score you made for an exam. So say if we made a 95, we made an A. That's great. I'm gonna clear this so it's easier to see. Let's say entrance exam. If you make 85, you should get a B. So let's say 85, you made a B. Entrance exam, say I made 70, so I should get a C. You made a C. And then let's say I had a really bad day and I got a 40 on it, so I should fail. And you failed exam. So yeah, that's pretty much how this works right here. Pretty self-explanatory. So Matlab won't check whether the second statement is true, but will stop at the first condition fulfilled. Yeah, that is correct. So yeah, if the first statement is true, like if it's 90 and say you made an A, then it will just say, you know, you made an A. So that's why I'm saying like it won't run anything else under here. Like if I made a 90, it won't say you made an A, you made a B, you made a C, you failed exam. It will just say this. So that's pretty much what the else and the else if means. That's what all these mean right here. And let's see. Okay, yeah, so I see that I was pretty much already answered and you understand it pretty well. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. I'll keep checking as we go on, but this is pretty self-explanatory. That's what it does. A lot of programming languages have this. So once you learn it once, you pretty much know it all. So now we'll get into a second way of flow control, a different way that we can test conditional statements. So we'll have a list of train stations. So I'm gonna name this train station info. And we're gonna assign a number to each train station. I could actually put all these train stations in a matrix, and that would be in a vector, and it would be easier to access. But just for the sake of this instruction, I'm gonna do it like this. So let's start by making a comment, and we're gonna make a list of stations. So let's see. I don't know how many stations we want to, but we'll just put 5 stations for now. And we'll say our station runs on the east coast of the United States. So we'll say the first station is going to be in Miami. The second station is going to be in Atlanta. Third station is going to be in Washington, D.C. We'll just say D.C. Fourth station will be in New York City. And the fifth station is going to be in, what the heck, let's just put Vancouver. Because why not? Alright, so now we have 5 stations: Miami, Atlanta, DC, New York City, and Vancouver. So we want this program to tell us which station we're referring to if we give it a number. So we'll say station numbers. That's a terrible name. Station number equals input. Enter the number. Enter the station number. And then we'll have a statement here called switch. So this is a pretty interesting statement right here. I'll show you how it works. So switch station number. And then to assign certain like values to this, we have to use case. So this is pretty much like a it is basically like a condition. So if it's case 1, then we want it to say that is Miami station. Alright. I'm gonna copy and paste this for ease of convenience. For case 2, we're gonna say that is Atlanta station. For case 3, we're gonna say that is DC station. Case 4, we're gonna say, I'm gonna abbreviate it, New York City station. And for case 5, we're going to say that is a Vancouver station. So this statement right here is basically taking like a variable, and these cases are going to test if it's equal to a variable. So if we run this and we put in number 1, we should get Miami. So enter the station number 1. That is the Miami station. And then we can run this again. Let's say we're going to enter number 3, so we're going to get DC station. Enter station number 3. That is a DC station. And you can do the same for any other number here, and it will say what station it is. So what if the user puts in a number that isn't valid, that isn't one of these numbers? I'm going to want to tell them that that is not a valid station. So to do that, and it's pretty much like an else statement in a if else, like if you see right here, if any of these are not true, then I'll run the else. So what I'm going to put here is something called otherwise, which is basically an else for a switch. So if any of these up here don't run, then it will run the otherwise. So otherwise display that is not a valid station. And if we run this, and then we put in station number, really big number, and it's going to tell us it's not a valid station. So that's pretty much how this otherwise works. Again, you don't need an otherwise for a valid switch statement. We ran this without an otherwise earlier and it worked just fine. But it pretty much provides us more options just in case they enter a number that's outside that range. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So switch works pretty similar to if, else if, etc. When do I use switch instead of if? So there are situations where switch is better suited than if. Yes and no. So I'm about to do that, get into that right now. So you are right. I could, for this entire thing, I could have just said if station number is equal to 1, then I can say display. I could do this like, and it will work exactly the same, but it will just be like super inconvenient. I don't want to type all of this out, but you get the idea. If this is just going to take forever if I try to do if and else if statement. And again, this isn't wrong. This just takes much longer and it's just not as efficient. And I'm going to show you the limitations of this later. So just this is like a short version of this. Like this works exactly the same as this right here. Now, let's say okay, so let's have a different kind of statement. We'll say if the station number is greater than 1, we'll say that, okay, let me think about this. Okay, so we're gonna have a different statement after this that tells us where our destination station is gonna be. So we'll say that if the station number is not, or okay, you know what, let me think about this. Okay, I have a better idea. So we'll have another statement that tells us what station it is. That will tell us if we're in a north or south part of the United States. So we'll say if the station number is greater than, we'll say DC is pretty far north, greater than or equal to 3. We'll say you are in the northern half. And then we'll say else you well actually else if the station number is less than 3, we'll say you are in the southern half. So let's copy this, paste this here, and say else. Actually, you know what? Okay, so this I wanted to tell us that, well, I don't want this to run if we're not in a valid station. So is greater than or equal to 3 and less than greater than or equal to 3 and less than 5, less than or equal to 5. Then it'll give us a valid station and say we are in the north half. And if the station number is less than 3 and also greater than 0, because we want a valid station in there, then we'll say we're in the southern half. And then if we put an invalid station, it just won't do anything. So let's run this right now. enter the station number. So we're gonna put the first one in Miami, will be in the south part of the United States. So that is a Miami station, you're in the south half. And if I do New York City, which is number 4, it should tell us we're in the northern half. Northern half, yep. And if we put in DC, which is number 3, it will also give us northern half. There you go. And if we put in a station that is not valid, it won't run this statement right here. Okay, so this is pretty much where the switch statement has a really big weakness. I can't just go like switch station number. Oops. This is something I can't do. So case, and I put like a statement right here, like this won't work. I can't just tell it to do this. I don't know why they made it so it didn't work, but in most programming languages, the switch statement isn't really built to like handle like a logic statement. It will just give you like a value that's supposed to equal to. So you can't just do that and say like that. Like this right here is not gonna work. It might actually run, but it won't give us what we need. So say if I do this here and I comment this out, is there an easy way to comment this out? Let's see. Okay, no, it won't let me do that. If I comment this out the hard way and I try to run this, it will actually run, but if I put like a number like, oh, okay, well that worked. But let's say if I put number 5, which is Vancouver, it should say we're in the northern half. Yeah, so this doesn't really work. I don't really understand how it works, but it just whoops, this is supposed to say you are in the northern half, but it just really won't work the way you want it to. Yeah, so I say number 5, that's Vancouver Station. It should tell me it's in the northern half, but it's not. And if I type in number like 3, like, yeah, it doesn't even tell me it's in a southern part. So this isn't really working the way we want it to. So this is something you cannot do a switch. You can't just put a condition here and expect it to work. This is where you have to put an if-else statement like up here. So I'm gonna go comment this out. Is there really no way to, okay. Alright, so yeah, you have to have an if-else statement to do things like that. So pretty much the switch statement only really works if you have values to compare for equality. So if you were to write an if statement and you say station number equals some value, then the switch statement works well. But then once you start giving it like a condition that like may or may not be true, like if you're not directly comparing a value, then the switch statement won't work. So I hope I got that point through. So pretty much like the advantages and disadvantages, the switch statement is good if you have like a lot of cases you need to compare, and you usually need to compare for equality. So say if this is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can put a lot of cases here, and it would be much easier than if and else if statement. Then a switch statement is good for that. But if you have actual conditions, like conditions like this, then you have to have an if and else if statement. A switch statement cannot do that. So yeah, that's pretty much, whoops, that's pretty much how it works. Station number 3, it should say northern half, yep. Now it works. And I'm gonna see if we have anything else to go through. I think we're good, yeah. Alright, so I'll just say if you're still not sure, like completely sure how this works, just experiment around, just see what works and what doesn't. But yeah, this should be pretty self-explanatory. I will put these notes and the code on the Discord server, and you should be able to see it. Just let me know if you have any questions. So yeah, that we're done with our first part of our train station. So next week we're going to make this train station a lot more comprehensive. So I hope you're excited to run a train station. Yep, I think we're good for today. So thank you for attending lecture 4, and I will see you next week.